Welcome back to another episode of the Shortsighted podcast. Today we're talking to Lori. Went from -6 diopters to -3 diopters. She's also an occupational therapist, so she kind of is in the general arena of helping people improve body stuff. She understands how these things work in general. Interesting episode, I thought. Here's Lori. Where you started with diopters and where you're at currently?
I think I started wearing glasses when I was 9 years old, started wearing contacts when I was 12. I'm 38 now. I guess I found this whole thing 2018, and I was wearing contacts pretty much like first thing in the morning to last thing at night. My right eye was -5.75 and my left eye was -6.0. And I feel like the first couple years after that, after starting, was pretty straightforward, and I had gotten down to wearing -3.0 both eyes. But I've had to take a step back just because having a kid threw things off. And honestly, while I was pregnant, I had no energy and probably spent too much time sitting on the couch scrolling on my phone. So I had to suck it up at a certain point and realize that I was just a little too adjusted to things being blurry. And so now I'm back at wearing 3.5 in each eye.
So about
So
half of where you started.
yeah, about. So I still am really pleased with that. And I feel like since I've taken a step back, I can definitely see progress again. So it's been a really interesting process. And I still wear contacts most of the time, partly because my kid rips glasses off my face, so it's not very practical. But also, I really can't stand like not having the peripheral vision. But yeah, it's
How did you end up with glasses at 9? That's early, right?
um honestly, partly I really wanted them. I was a weird kid. I think I wanted anything that made me like different. And so I remember I mean, I think it was a combination that like the first time there was an ophthalmologist or optometrist that recommended them, they were kind of like, yeah, you're right on the borderline of whether you need them or not. And then I was like, yes, let's go for it. And which was a terrible life choice. But I think also somewhere around that age, I got like a Game Boy and started playing video games like close up for hours on end. I think that's probably what made it happen. But yeah, I wear them some of the time, and then of course needed them all the time, and then eventually ended up hating them and went to contacts. But
Then
just
when
kind
you
of
when you
continue down
started,
that road.
people always ask me this because I always forget to ask. Active focus, was that easy to find, difficult to find? How did that work for you?
So I'm kind of a person who doesn't like to overthink things. So I didn't find it that difficult, but I also didn't try to obsess over it. I think sometimes the harder I think about it, the harder it is. And so, um, I mean, I know I've been intentional to like spend more time, doing things at a distance and all of that, especially early on. I was really focused on that. But I think it just sort of happened as I was living life. And I don't think I can take credit for this, but I remember someone somewhere in this journey just saying like, your tendency is going to be that when you can't see something clearly, you're going to want to like lean in and squint, but really you need to kind of lean back and relax. And I think what I found is when I just kind of was out in the world looking at things that are farther away, like, your eyes want to be able to see, and it would just kind of happen on its own sometimes. That's probably not a helpful answer for people who are really struggling, but my MO is always kind of not to overthink it, and that worked for me, I guess.
Yeah,
Not all the time, sometimes it's easier than others, but
I would say that's the most common answer, but it's
okay.
noticeable. I mainly notice when things go wrong because it's when people complain, right? So
Yeah.
we hear most of
Yeah.
that. We don't hear as many of the Lori versions of active focus where you're just like, yeah, it
Yeah.
was fine.
Yeah. I mean, I do notice that like when I'm doing something that I would say is more like dynamic rather than static, I think it's easier. Like, for example, I started going disc golfing with my husband a few years ago, and like when I'm watching a disc like fly through the air and watching where it goes through the woods, like then I think that's a lot more of like the right stimulation for my eyes to focus on it versus if I'm just staring at something that's, 200 feet away and not moving,
Mm.
if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
because you have to see it, right? Like
Right.
that's why I call it active focus. It's the process of actively seeing a thing, right? Like it's like driving or anything where it's not really optional.
Yeah, driving for sure. Trying to think what else. I mean,
Which wear the right glasses when driving, everybody. Don't
yes,
do it.
I play in symphony orchestras sometimes too, and I think like that can be a good one, especially if kind of going back and forth because you have to look at the music closer up, but then the conductor is far away, and obviously you want to be able to see what they're showing you to play and see their movements and their expressions and stuff. So I think that's one I have to practice a lot too.
Right.
And even just like the social interaction of like being able to see people across the room down the hallway and stuff, that's I feel like that's I'm never I mean, I think I've read on the forum some people just going outside and staring at an eye chart. I've never That's not ever gonna be me. But like just the things in everyday life, like, oh, look, there's a sign down at the end of the hallway, like as I'm walking toward it. I mean, if I can't incorporate it into my life and make it easy, it's not gonna happen. So that's kind of where I do the active focus and how I find it.
Yeah.
Just live it.
And that's kind of the background of the whole Endmyopia premise, right? Like trying to make it easy. Because I'm the same way. Like if it's complicated, it's not going to stick. And for most people, it's the case. For a thing like this that you found it in 2018, it's like, wow, that is ancient history by now. Right? Like if it
Right,
wasn't pretty straightforward, it would be very few people that would pull it off.
right. But it also, I mean, it makes things easier, I would say. Like, I remember one of the things that, I mean, I think I bought the premise pretty quickly from the start, just seeing, other people had done this and seeing the evidence behind it. But it's also like once I started wearing like plus lenses for anything close up, like it's just uncomfortable not to. It's uncomfortable to force your eyes to look at things close up with a really strong minus lenses. And it was, I don't know, there is like an element at least of it being kind of self-motivating of it feels better to be able to use your eyes more functionally.
Yeah, I think so. So you started with, do you remember you started with differentials? How was the beginning of that whole adventure? Figuring it out.
So I think I'm pretty sure at the beginning, I think I did it backward. Maybe I didn't do it backward. I'm trying to remember even how you recommend starting, but I know it took me a few weeks to kind of get stuff just because in the US, I feel like they're especially strict about, you can't just go buy glasses and even ordering contacts without a prescription. Like I have to order them from the UK and it takes a while for them to get here. But I'm pretty sure I went out and got some plus lenses at least to wear over my contacts for close up and did that for a few weeks. And then I feel like after I kind of got used to that process, I was able to drop, I want to say like half a diopter pretty quickly. I think just because I was probably overprescribed. And once I went down to, I guess it was like my left eye that was -6, I would have gone to like 5.5. And then my right eye was 5.75. So to 5.25. And I feel like that, I mean, it was almost pretty easy to see in like good conditions and it didn't take long for my eyes to adjust to that. And then, it was just kind of getting in the habit of making sure to switch between like distance and close-up lenses. And I really feel like the first couple years that I did it, it was pretty straightforward. Like I would have to convince myself not to reduce too soon because my left eye always progresses slower than my right eye. Um, but I think it was so I think, yeah, the first, like really going from like -6 or whatever to -4, that was pretty straightforward, pretty easy. And I feel like every maybe 4 to 6 months, I was able to reduce again. I mean, I've never been one to keep measurements and keep track of it every single day. So I couldn't tell you exactly. But after that, I think it was when I was at like 3.75 that I tried to equalize my eyes. And that's when it got a little more complicated. But up until then, it was pretty straightforward. I don't
Yeah.
even know if I'm answering your question anymore.
No, you're totally are. Yeah, and the equalizing is not really that important
Yeah.
with the difference not being that big. I say that a lot, as long as you can keep it simple. Like if it's the same, like if your left eye takes longer, right? And it's that
Mhm.
way every single time, and you just wait till the
Mhm.
right eye's caught up and then reduce again.
Mhm.
Like what you were saying, doing it the easiest possible way. You can always worry about the
Mhm.
equalizing once you're down to like in the last diopter range somewhere.
Yeah. That's probably what I should have done, but I did like probably about 2 years ago. I that just like 1/4 difference was driving me crazy. And so I did, and I think that that probably threw off my progress a little bit, and I should have just waited. But now that I've been wearing the same prescription in both eyes, or same diopters in both eyes, I guess, for 2 years, I I can't say I really feel like I should go back. I mean, I don't think my left eye
No,
is
yeah,
completely caught up,
nice.
but my eyes are used to it. So
Pretty
the last
straightforward.
time I've
Half, I mean, cut in half is a pretty good amount. Six is already in a range where things get iffy, right? Like, I don't know, because it's been a long time. If you still have the old classes?
I have them somewhere.
Yeah. Like if
I
you
haven't.
compare, I mean, it's fun and scary to see like even just if you hold them like at the same distance, like your -3.5s and the sixes, to see how much the image is more compressed in the -6, how much smaller it is, and just the quality of it next to each other. I don't have any classes around that are that big of a diopter difference. Like if you look through them, some people can't handle like just putting them on, but even just holding them in front of you and looking at both of them, like what you're looking at is noticeably worse in the -6 because
Mhm.
things have to be squished right to the -6 diopters versus
Yeah.
-3, where
Yeah.
it's almost natural looking.
Yeah. I think I've noticed that a little bit because I have glasses that I have minus lenses for glasses too that I can wear when I'm not wearing my contacts. And I've put those on over top of my contacts, like by accident, which functionally does the same thing. And it's just like this like repulsive, like, oh, everything gets so small. And I do feel like, I mean, I feel like with every time I've like reduced, you can tell a difference. I mean, it might not be as obvious with contacts as with glasses, but even with that, I just feel like things look more real, if that makes sense. Like the colors look brighter, and for sure with glasses, like it just, yeah, I can't stand, yeah,
Yeah.
just how they distort everything. And even wearing them, they distort your face, like for everyone else that's looking at you too.
Yeah, your eyes get smaller behind them. That was what that's what started me on this whole thing.
Really?
Yeah. Because I had -4 point something, and the optometrist said I need -5. And I looked at myself in the mirror and I had these little tiny eyes, right? Because the same thing happens. And I'm like,
Right,
this can't keep going on. This is,
right.
uh, yeah, not cool.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
even though a -3 is still like you still need corrective lenses, your experience is a lot better than -6. Right.
And I can function without them too. Like, because when I was at -6, I literally would get out of bed and the first thing I would do would be like roll over to the bathroom, put in my contacts because I felt like I couldn't even walk through my house. And now, like, it's just not a big deal. I'll wake up, I'll play with my kid for a little bit, and then I'm like, oh, I guess I should go, you know, put on my contacts or something. But it's not like I can navigate my environment. I can walk outside and get the mail, you know. I could go fix myself breakfast, and I don't think I could have done that 5 years ago. I would have been like like in those cartoons where they're like feeling around, like, what is this? You know? So it feels a lot different.
Kind of surreal because I forget as we're talking, I remember this and it feels like it wasn't real. Like I remember with a minus 4 point somethings, I'd have to remember where I put them. Because if I didn't, I would
Mhm.
never find those freaking things again.
Right. It's, I mean, it's kind of comical slash sad.
Kind of. Because there
But
was definitely some incidences where whatever was going on, like if I misplaced them, good
yeah,
luck, right? Like you need glasses to
yeah,
find your glasses.
right. Well, and I mean, I don't know. I have some friends and I'm not trying to, you know, speak down on anybody, but people be like, oh my gosh, I broke my glasses or whatever. I have to like leave work and immediately go to the eye doctor and fix this. And, you know, it's going to be weeks before I can function again. And just like, it's just not how it should be or really how it is. Like, it just, yeah, it just opens up a maybe less myopic way of looking at the world.
Yeah. It's strange. It's weird. Since I haven't done a podcast in a million years, like I forget like what we were talking about before we started recording. Like I've kind of been super minimal on Endmyopia things and interactions for a while. But
Yeah.
yeah, it is odd to rethink about it again, how much this is a manufactured problem. Right? Like
Mhm.
if glasses weren't available, yeah, okay, you would have gotten to like a -1 or something, right? In extreme
Mhm.
cases, people go like 1.5, whatever, but it's you can function, you can see in normal daylight
Mhm.
conditions, you find there is no -6, right? Like, and
Mhm.
now it's normal that people are in this, that's crazy. And I completely forgot that that's even a thing, that if you break your glasses and you have to go back to the so-called eye doctor and then be screwed
Mhm.
until you have more. Somebody probably has to
Right,
take
right,
you.
right. Like, yeah, yeah, I buy glasses now from I Buy Direct, and they're always like, "Oh, we'll send a second pair to someone who needs them, you know, in a underdeveloped country." And I'm like, please don't do that to them now.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
funny because in all these so-called underdeveloped countries that I spend most of my time in,
Mhm.
you pretty rarely see glasses until you get into the fancy neighborhoods and the rich
Right.
kids. Then there's glasses. Otherwise, people seem to see fine.
Yeah, we create a lot of problems for ourselves, I think.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. You know,
Yeah.
and I still feel weird being one of those people that are like preaching about one of them.
About what?
That I'm preaching
Preaching
about one
about,
of these problems. I feel like I'm not that guy still,
you know,
right?
you know. That's a weird world to fall into.
No, recently, it was recently, like for the first time, I tried Twitter ads since Twitter got the speech rules changed a lot on that platforms. And I wanted to
Right.
support that, that it's going in a different direction. And so I'm like, I paid for the thing, whatever you know, the monthly thing. And then I was like, let's buy some ads. Let's support this thing. And I wasn't good at the targeting, like who gets to see it. Oh boy,
Mhm.
I got a lot of, optometrists. No, interestingly, there is never any feedback that hurts where they're explaining why this is stupid. Like
Mhm.
a scientific argument or a logical
Mhm.
argument. It's always nice scam, bro, or you're not even a doctor. There's never like
Wow.
and somebody said, and then I
I've
posted
never
on
substance.
Facebook. Yeah, I posted on Facebook, and then somebody said, "Why are you wasting your time on the dumb comments? Like, look for the people that disparage,
Yeah.
productively." I'm like, there aren't any though, right? And it's, uh,
That's yeah, that's saying something.
It's odd.
Yeah.
And some of them are literally optometrists that, and I would click on their thing and I'm like, so this is his best argument. And in a way, I want to start an argument because I want to demonstrate how there's nothing behind this, you know?
Mhm.
Like there's literally an optometrist calling me a scam. And I'm like, you guys have a 6,000% profit margin and you claim you don't know the cause of the thing. And I provide a bunch of free resources and I am the scam. Like, and I want to rope them into a biology discussion of explain to me how,
Right.
but
Right.
nobody ever will,
They
sadly.
probably, I mean, yeah, they probably for good reason, like nobody wants to be, I guess, exposed as as a scam themselves. But yeah, that is ridiculous that no one will even engage.
That used to upset me, like
Um,
till I got used to this weird internet thing, right? Because I took it personally. I'm like, how is it a scam? Like that's just
right.
rude. But I'm used to it.
I think it says a lot more about them than it does about about you, probably.
Yeah. I just
No,
don't
I
think we're
think
wired that way. Now we're really getting off topic, but I don't think we're meant to be like I stopped doing podcasts and stuff for a while because I'm like, it's weird. This one to many interaction is really strange, right? Like I don't think
Mhm,
our brain isn't really meant to take criticism from a large group of people,
mhm, mhm.
right? Like,
Yeah, that's true.
and then I don't notice all the positive because it's like way more positive than negative. But if
Yeah.
if one person says something bad, I remember that, and 100 positive comments, I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fine. And
And
then
people are probably less likely to say something if it's positive because they just take it and go about their life. And I don't know.
yeah, because it is
People are
pretty
just weird.
easy. I think your experience is the common experience, right? Like you find a thing, you figure it out. It's not that complicated. You make a reduction, you notice it works, and then you're like, okay, there it is. And then close up gets uncomfortable with minus lenses or too strong minus lenses, and then you gradually improve.
Mhm. Yeah, it's really been pretty easy. But then it's weird too, because like I would say I work on the periphery of the healthcare field. I am an occupational therapist, so I'm not right in the middle of it, but I'm around a lot of healthcare people. But I'm also in like the rehab world where we're like it's kind of weird actually the intersection with this because I mean we're rehabbing people's muscles all the time. And that's really all this is rehabbing the muscles of your eyes. And I mean, it makes so much sense, but like I've talked to some of my coworkers about it, and some of them are just like, that sounds like a lot of work. And then some of them are like, oh, that makes sense. I should do that. But nobody ever bites. Like they're just like, whatever, I'll just go on with my life. I'm like, but we work in the rehab world. Like, you know how this works. If you had somebody whose muscle was contracted, if it was their ankle, like you're not going to treat that by accommodating it and making it worse over time. Like you're going to push against that. But somehow even my own coworkers won't take like 5 minutes to be like, huh, I guess my eyes are the same way. So I don't know. The world is weird.
That is weird. Well, why would you say that is?
I don't know. I mean, maybe people are just busy and they like their easy fixes and people just don't like to question like what the mainstream tells them to.
Hmm,
Like
yeah. I think I do that a lot with
like
stuff too, especially when it comes to diet. There's some people in the forum that have really brilliant food insights.
mhm.
Hmm. I don't want to like okay, shout out to David, who's like the best when it comes to analysis of food. And like I have some not I don't want to say health problems, but some not perfect things that could have been improved by changing certain diet things, but they're not really practical where I live, right? Like I can't apply the same things, but I could adopt it if I really wanted to, and I never have.
Right.
So I am the
Yeah.
same way. I'm just like, if that's
Yeah.
not my topic, then I'm like, good enough. I'm still alive.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I guess that's probably where a lot of people are. And, they're like, it was going to take me a couple years to fix it. But also a lot of people that I've mentioned it to, I mean, I don't go around preaching about it, but, someone asks like, I'm not going to hide it either. But a lot of people I mentioned, they're like, oh, that's interesting. I'll ask my eye doctor about that. And like, well, you're probably not going to really get anywhere there, but you know,
Yeah.
that's okay. That's them. All I have to do is me. So
Yeah, it's definitely a niche kind of pursuit. It's cool though, because
yeah.
-3, I could say positive things about all diopters, but -3, -3.5, like you're a diopter away from another big revelation. Like -2 is another big one. Like but -2, you're almost to where, I mean, for like phone and stuff, you're seeing clearly, completely at the distance,
Mhm.
and you're really close to that, to a place where you don't need glasses for close up anymore. And they feel
Mhm.
sometimes you feel like, man, I don't really need these, which with
Yeah.
-3 doesn't so much happen yet. The clarity and stuff, like, because you said about walking around the house, like morning, bathroom, wandering around, with -2, you
Mhm.
almost forget about them sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're
But I
close.
won't go outside and
No,
be able
yeah,
to see someone across the street or anything. But no, I think that's kind of the next milestone I look forward to. Like I think when I first started the process, I was like, oh, maybe I'll be, done with glasses altogether by the time I'm 40. That is not going to happen anymore. But like maybe by that point, I'll be at a point where I can just wear glasses for distance, really be done with contacts, and maybe not have to wear anything close up for most of the time. That would be amazing.
yeah. Plus, you'll avoid presbyopia, or at least it seems. I've never met anybody who did Endmyopia who ended up with presbyopia. So,
Yeah,
because
it's
otherwise, what
interesting.
happens, you'd wear those -6 somethings, and then you
Uh-huh.
go to your friendly eye doctor, and they're like, well, you're getting older. And then you get multifocal lenses, right?
Yes.
Where basically
Yeah.
like differentials, but now they're reduced for close up, and they reduce them by like 2 diopters or 2.5. So now your ciliary muscle really doesn't have to work for close up anymore, which it needs to as you get older to keep the lens flexible. And now you're dependent. Now you can't see anything in any distance.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to name any names or anything, but I've seen that happen to people. And like, that's not where I want to be. I mean, I feel like it impacts how people live their life too, because like, I mean, I've seen people like, oh, hang on, gotta go get my reading glasses, oh, gotta do this. Like, it slows you down. Like, you're always just, oh, which glasses do I need? What do I need to do here? Oh, my bifocal, yeah, I hope I can avoid that.
Yeah. I feel like I want to say, just because I'm in this little tiny niche area, I see, like, I think it ages people. Like if something happens in your
Mm,
brain where you just believe that you're old, or maybe it's
mm,
just your sensory input limitations, where all of a sudden when these things happen, like with hearing aids, I've seen that also. I've seen it with eyes, where people just dramatically seem to get older as these things happen. Like they behave
I could
older,
imagine that. I could imagine that.
like they move older,
Well,
like lots of things.
there's gotta be like an element of like learned helplessness, because I think I even had that as a kid. Like I never did sports and I just was like, oh, I'm just horrifically uncoordinated. I can't throw, I can't catch. And like the past 5 years, like I think I've kind of questioned all of that. Like I never would have gone out and played disc golf or anything, but I can throw and catch a tennis ball and it is fine. And I think I just never took the time to observe, like, hey, look, I can see how this moves through the air. Like I think I just was like, I can't do that. And anything involving like that, I guess visual motor coordination, whatever, hand-eye coordination, like I just assumed I couldn't function that way. And so I could see it being the same thing with people getting older or whatever. Just kind of that learned like, oh, I can't function that way anymore and I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, I had that
Even
also.
if it's
I wonder
thing.
if it's like the brain like limiting you on purpose because you don't have peripheral vision less with contacts. Because I thought that I was incredibly clumsy. I never got picked
Mhm.
for sports in high school and
Mhm.
stuff, like I was always the kid on the bench. And I remember I learned kite surfing when I got rid of glasses completely.
Oh yeah.
And I was shocked. Like I was like observing my body doing stuff from like, I can't do that. Like it's balancing itself on its own. I
Yeah,
feel that I'm clumsy and I'm observing it just doing the right stuff and being fascinated. Like
that's
it
interesting.
does work
Yeah,
fine. And something happens
yeah,
with glasses that limit that behavior or
yeah.
that thinking that
That's
you can.
interesting. I mean, I wonder how much it's vision in general too, because I work with like, so I primarily work with babies that are in the neonatal ICU, but like especially babies that are like super medically complex and are in the hospital for months and months. And I've been looking at their vision so much more, and like the kids who can't see or haven't figured it out. I mean, 10 years ago I would have said the babies that just can't see, but like it's a process. They make progress anyway. But the ones that haven't figured it out yet, like they don't move either. They don't know how to explore their environment. They don't try and roll over. They don't try and crawl because they just haven't figured out any of that, like how to process their peripheral vision, how to process like things at different distances. And I don't know. That's a whole tangent that I'm going on, but it's just, I mean, it just makes me think of all that because I'm sure with glasses too, you just kind of zone in on like you don't process everything else that's going on, different directions, different distances. And you just don't, I mean, it affects so much how you like move around in your environment.
Yeah. Like soccer, like I grew up in Europe, soccer, all kids played soccer and I wore
Oh
glasses.
yeah.
And the first time I get hit in the head with a soccer ball, which happens, not that big of a deal, but when you wear glasses, all of a sudden it is a big deal
Oh,
because
yeah.
smash into your nose, you break your glasses.
Right.
I,
Right.
I see a soccer ball, I get scared. This
Yeah.
still, like I see people kicking a ball around. I'm like, I'm staying far away from this freaking thing.
Right. Right. That's interesting. Yeah.
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 It's such a
I wonder.
casual intervention. I feel like so many optometrists, I have had so many conversations with optometrists who have a extremely limited understanding of what they're doing outside of what they do every day. Like if you want to
Mhm.
talk about biology, and it's not fair to pick on them, but it's just fact. And it's so casual
Right.
to throw glasses on somebody without realizing the ripple effects through a person's entire life, you know? There's no,
Yeah.
it's the opposite of what you do, the whole therapy and rehabilitation thing. It's just, here's a quick fix that the effects of it affect your life in so many ways that nobody tells you, do you want to accept this compromise? Right? They're just told that this
Right.
is the only option.
Yeah. And I don't think anybody who's accepting it realizes that either. Like, or if they do, they think it's just this inevitable, oh, I'm just destined to have terrible eyes. And yeah,
And now you don't.
I think, yeah, which is very
Nice.
exciting.
Yeah. That is very exciting. And I appreciate that you said yes to having a little chat about this.
Yeah, it's been fun.
And I forgot
Yeah.
about the rehab background. That's very relevant. It must be kind of cool
There's a lot
also,
of overlap.
right? Like, because sometimes I feel like when I explain some of these things, number one, I'm removed, right? Because I write it onto a website, but also
Mhm.
I'm more excited to have that impact on somebody who is in that same kind of world because it makes sense to
Mhm.
you. Like it's not an
Mhm.
alien concept to be like, well, these things aren't broken. And over time, you can affect biology in a positive direction with stimulus,
Absolutely.
right? Like if I tell you
Yeah.
that, you're like, of course you can. Maybe the eye part is new, but the concept isn't. So I
Yeah.
like that. It makes me like personally excited. I'm like, Lori knows.
It
Lori
is.
knows what I'm talking about.
Maybe you need to like just find some more occupational therapists that are kind of in this bubble, because I mean, one of the biggest principles of OT is like finding the just right challenge of, I mean, that's probably a lot of fields, but like what is just enough challenge to elicit a change without being so challenging that either you or your system gives up. And I mean, that's exactly what this is. So you might find a lot more agreement. And I mean, there are OTs that work like specifically in vision or like at least like low vision and stuff. And I bet they'd be really interested to learn Because I mean, it definitely wasn't anything that came up in my training. You talk about visual processing and stuff, but you don't talk about anything like this. But it fits really well with our framework, I think, for looking at things. So
Hmm.
you might find some allies.
I'll have to hit you up outside of this sometime and see how I would go about that, because I'm not really good at connecting dots and people and
Well,
making friends
I
and
say
all.
that I'm an introvert, and
Same.
but at least I mean it fits well for me, and I appreciate it, and it definitely clicked. So it's a start. Maybe it's just one person at a time.
Thank you so much. Unless you have other comments, I say this a lot, but then I never do it. But maybe we will. I always say that we should catch up again when you're down a bit further, just for an update. If you remind me, I would love to
Okay,
do that. Because people always bug me. They're
sure.
like, "Wow, where's the update?"
Yeah, that'll motivate me to keep tabs on my progress, and maybe actually write down what I'm doing here or there, but probably not. But yeah,
Oh,
if
awesome.
it happens, great.
Thanks, Lori.
Yeah, thank you.
And there we have it. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you're in that diopter range, hopefully that was useful for you. If not, there's 50 plus other episodes with all kinds of different diopter stories and people telling their experience. I think all very interesting, all worth listening to or watching. More coming soon. See you in the next one.
Meow, 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 meow.